Happening now on Grid tonight. Here we go again. Another strong case of deja vu with Fernando Alonso leaving Alpine. They announced Oscar Piastri would get promoted to the driver lineup in 2023, but Piastri put out a statement said he won't drive for them. What's going on here, and how does it relate to the Alex Palou contract saga with Chip Ganassi Racing and McLaren? Lewis Hamilton's going to the league. What's his latest business venture with the NFL's Denver Broncos all about? Matt White's here with your weekly grid history update. Alex Albon shared some really good news, but his response to the big announcement from Williams left many laughing, and you'll see why later in the show. Hello to all of our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Cubby Lambert from the Podium Finisher. With me is Adam Limeries and Joshua Birch. And before we get started, I want to give a special shout out to our awesome Patreon supporters, Colin, Mark, Deshell, and Robin. Thank you so much for investing in Grid Network. Link to our Patreon in the video description below. Please feel free to comment in the chat room, ask questions, and engage in tonight's really super important discussion. And let's kick off with Formula One summer break. Starting off with a major bang. So on the morning of August 1st, while many in the Formula One paddock were getting ready to enjoy the summer break, a two-time Formula One world champion dropped a major bombshell on the world of motorsports. To begin a chain reaction of events that would soon follow, Fernando Alonso decided to leave Alpine and sign a multi-year deal with Aston Martin F1, replacing retiring Sebastian Vettel as Lance Stroll's teammate. According to Jonathan Noble from Autosport, Alonso told Alpine the day before the Aston Martin move that he didn't sign with anyone else. And then the very next day, let me repeat that again. The day before Alonso signed with Aston Martin, well, that it was announced, he told Alpine that he didn't sign with anyone. That it seemed like Alpine and Alonso were going to be moving towards a new deal together. And then the very next day, Alpine learned about Alonso changing teams basically the same time we all did when the press release came out. So Alpine totally caught off guard and blindsided, especially since they thought they were close to a deal to continue with Fernando Alonso. And starting with you, Adam, we know the business side of motorsports can get pretty ugly at times. Based on how Alonso handled the situation, will this kill the morale for the remainder of his time with Alpine?
Yes, Kobe, I believe it does. And in all the years that I watched motorsports, I've never seen anything like this. This is, you want silly season? We're in August. Silly season. It's gonna kill them. First of all, gotta say congratulations to Fernando Alonso for signing a multi-year deal with Aston Martin, replacing a legend like Sebastian Vettel after everything Sebastian has accomplished in his F1 career. This is crazy. I heard the news, my jaw dropped. I don't think it, and it's gonna kill the morale going forward a lot. You need a clear head right now, to race. And to me, Fernando Alonso doesn't have that right now. It's gonna be crazy going forward. What's going to happen next? We have a comment from Michael Tiller saying, "Hey, good evening, Grid Network and everyone. Alonso going from Alpine to Aston Martin. What a shock." Michael, I agree.
Absolutely, I agree with it as well. It's come as such a shock and a surprise as well, because that seat should have been going to Mick Schumacher. It was practically a done deal as well. All that had to be done was for Mick to sign the contract, and I understand that Mick did want to go to Aston Martin as well, and the main reason that he has stopped as well, the only one word I got from my source directly from Haas as well was Ferrari. That's it. I haven't been able to get anything out of anybody. Ferrari have sort of shut themselves down. They've never been that good at getting information from them either. But it seems to be Ferrari was the one word I got. So taking from that, they don't want to lose him from their development program because they want Mick to be in the factory Ferrari team at some point in the future, whether that's replacing either Carlos Sainz or it's replacing Charles Leclerc at some point. So we know Sainz is on a 2-year deal until the end of 2024. Maybe they want Mick in there by 2025. But even so, it's a long time to ask for him to wait. So don't agree with that at all. If they've prevented him going to another team, that's a bit dirty tactics in my opinion, but that Haas car's coming along quite well. It's got good package coming up for next year, so Aston Martin just look like they're going backwards. So I think it's actually an okay decision for Mick to stay where he is, despite what we've been hearing all season. Things change in Formula One at the 11th hour, and that's exactly what's happened with Fernando Alonso as well. As soon as Ferrari put the blockers, it sounds like, on Mick joining Aston Martin, they went to plan B as well. And the E plan this time was to get Fernando Alonso in pretty sharpish as well. So Alonso's joined in pretty much, it sounds like, at the 11th hour. They've agreed to a quick deal and he'll be racing there for 2 years as well. Presumably it's a cash-based deal. And as well, because I don't think Aston are going to win titles at the moment. Aston at the moment are developing their car. They're getting new factories in and around Silverstone as well. So I think Fernando's only racing there for the money because he's certainly not going to win a Grand Prix with them. He stands more chance with Alpine. And as well, the mess that Alpine have been left in as well is just comedy gold. And it's been enjoying us all as well, especially as I finally got 2 days worth of holiday time and actually went away for holiday a little bit as well. And Formula One still escapes me. I'm still suffering with a bit of a burn, it seems, on my chest as well.
Yeah, we like to call this silly season, but I think this might be a little too silly for all of us because this is some unbelievable drama that we're seeing. First in IndyCar with Alex Palou, which we'll talk about a little later in tonight's program, and now with Alpine, Oscar Piastri, Fernando Alonso, and in the chat we asked if our viewers think Fernando Alonso gave Alpine the cold shoulder. And Michael Tiller responded, said in terms of the cold shoulder, you would have to think so because if no decision was made the day before, then that decision is made. So that was definitely a huge surprise. Totally agree with you, Michael. And at the end of the day, sometimes you just have to look out for yourself. And it seems like Fernando Alonso decided to make the selfish decision to leave Alpine like that. And it's really crazy thinking Alonso did this the day before, like, no, I haven't signed with anybody, when in reality he did. So he really misled Alpine there. So I'm sure all of the people back at the Alpine factory are not going to be happy with Alonso. So when they come back from summer break, oh boy, it's going to be a super awkward situation. But it's not the first time this has happened in Formula One. It's happened all over motorsports. Look at the situation Alex Palou and Chip Ganassi Racing are in right now. That's an extremely awkward situation. Or in NASCAR with Richard Childress Racing and Tyler Reddick. Reddick still has to complete the rest of this year and all of next year with RCR. So unfortunately, the business side does get in the way at certain times, and it can get really, really messy. And Alpine right now, they're in quite a mess. And despite the messy divorce between Alonso and Alpine, the team wished him well and said they'll continue to keep pushing to the maximum until the final lap of the 2022 season. At the same time, Alonso's departure was believed to solve the headache for Alpine of what to do with the 2021 Formula 2 champion Oscar Piastri. Little did we know that headache would become a full-blown migraine. As expected, Alpine announced Piastri would take Alonso's seat in 2023 alongside Esteban Ocon after being a Renault and Alpine back driver for 4 years. Then, plot twist, in a case of deja vu, similar to the story we've been following for weeks here at Grid Network, Piastri dropped his own bombshell right here, saying in a tweet, I understand that without my agreement, Alpine F1 have put out a press release late this afternoon that I am driving for them next year. This is wrong, and I have not signed a contract with Alpine for 2023. I will not be driving for Alpine next year. If that carefully worded statement sounds very familiar to you, it's almost saying the exact same thing as Alex Palou when he entered the contract dilemma involving Chip Ganassi Racing and McLaren. Just take a look for yourself. Palou started out saying, I recently learned from the media that this afternoon, without my approval, Chip Ganassi Racing issued a press release announcing that I would be driving for CGR in 2023. Even more surprising was that CGR's release included a quote, which did not come from me. Palou went on to say, I did not approve that press release, and I did not author or approve that quote. As I recently informed CGR, for personal reasons, I do not intend to continue with the team after 2022. And going back to the Piastri statement here, it's really an exact spitting image of what Alex Palou said. So I wonder if Oscar Piastri's legal team was looked at Alex Palou's statement and decided, how are we going to craft this statement? It was carefully worded and it's seriously almost the exact same message. And speaking of Alex Palou, we'll have an update on his legal battle against Ganassi in a little bit, but it's very surprising to see the same thing happen again on different sides of the Atlantic, and McLaren seemingly involved again. It's widely believed that Piastri is on his way to McLaren to replace Daniel Ricciardo next season, but Andrew Benson from the BBC is reporting that Alpine said they believe they're legally correct in their statement, but didn't want to offer any additional comments at this time. Like the Palou situation, Ganassi also said that they thought they were legally correct, and they're going to try to prove that in a courtroom soon. So, Josh, how humiliating is this entire situation for Alpine, losing a two-time Formula One world champion and potentially a young driver who many think will be a future F1 star in a span of just 48 hours?
I'll be quite honest with you as well. Alpine have come out of this looking like clowns. They've taken Ferrari's role, and it's not by their doing. It really isn't. They've been abandoned by Fernando Alonso at the 11th hour to go race for another team as well. There was a wonderful piece put out as well by both Dieter Renken and Luke Smith as well, fellow journalists as well, from Autosport and race fans as well. I urge you to go and have a look at them as well, where as well they all go through. I think John Noble also put his name to a few articles there saying that the reason Alonso left Alpine is because the head of Alpine only wanted Fernando for 2 more years in Formula One before he would be shipped off to the LMHD program in the World Endurance Championship, and Oscar Piastri would spend 2 years at Williams before getting the main seat at Alpine for 2025. Now, that seems to be pretty much confirmed. That was the deal that Fernando had on the table as well, and a deal he looked to accept as well. But Alonso then has obviously got a better deal with Aston Martin, probably because they're two going into the LMHD program as well. So he now gets to dictate when his Formula One career will end, which is something that is very personal to Fernando, as we've seen in the past. So he's left Alpine because they wanted to throw him to the scrap heap in 2 years. Now he can maybe do 3 to 4 years left in Formula One before going to do maybe retiring for good or do World Endurance. Hello again to Tiller as well coming through. I haven't got my glasses on. Says we'll be back on topic. Alpine saying they've signed Oscar, but then Oscar saying he didn't agree to it. That's hard to think of what to believe is true. You don't know, we don't know. We are literally getting so much different information that we're reporting on 1 minute is what they're saying is the truth. The next minute we're not. So us as journalists as well are having our credibility questioned by people on Twitter, because 1 minute we're tweeting that Oscar Piastri is driving for Alpine, then 15, 20 minutes later we're saying that, oh, hang on a minute, no, he's not. So he's getting everybody making look like we're fools, and it's not right. And I think as well, social media, I think the team admins are having a bit too much control over this. The social media admins are posting things way before things are made official. And I think with this would never have happened if social media was around. So they need to hold back until it's agreed on all parties before issuing these press releases, because it just gets too much. 48 hours, and it's been all caused by Zak Brown. All caused because at the Formula E race in London, Mark Webber was seen talking to Zak Brown as well. And the reason I say Mark Webber is because Mark Webber is the driver manager of Oscar Piastri. Now, I'm very much looking forward to when Formula One resumes in Spa, because I reckon there's just going to be a massive punch-up in the paddock. I'm very much looking for the motorhome stall, which is Zak Brown in the docks, and you can line up, pay £1, and throw some sponges at him.
Josh, I agree with you. And anybody want to find a boxing ring?
Mexico.
There you go, Josh. It's humiliating. It's like Josh you said, it's clowns. It's like it's you put your head in the sand, like an ostrich. It's crazy. It's it's a crazy situation, and Alpine, they better get their heads right going to Spa, and hopefully they'll get this resolved soon enough.
Yeah, we certainly hope this situation is really resolved soon. And I agree with you, Adam. It's really humiliating for Alpine. It makes them look really bad to lose Fernando Alonso like this. And then your young driver you've been grooming for the past several years, the driver you believe is going to be your number one driver of the feature, and you end up losing them. It's certainly not a good look at all for Alpine. And got another comment from Michael Tiller saying when Alonso leaves, and if Oscar is not driving in his place, they need to find someone. It can't be a one driver team. That would not be fair for the constructors. Totally agree with that, Michael. And it's certainly going to be interesting to see where Alpine is going to go next in terms of drivers. I thought they had it made with Oscar Piastri, but Oscar Piastri pulled a fast one on them and decided that he was going to go elsewhere. And this just goes back that motorsports, the business side of it, can get really nasty and really ugly, because at the end of the day, these young drivers have to look out for themselves, because you never know when you can when I guess your employer might stab you in the back. And I guess it's better that you stab them in the back. I know this sounds really bad to say, but it's best that you stab them in the back before they can stab you. And that's just the world that we live in today. And once again, as we've been saying, McLaren is at the center of the contract drama this year, along with being an Alpine reserve driver. Alpine also gave McLaren permission to call up Piastri in case they needed him if Lando Norris or Daniel Ricciardo couldn't compete. I wonder if that's where Alpine went wrong to allow McLaren to call him up to be one of their reserve drivers. I'm sure if they had an opportunity to do that over again, they might decide to, not let McLaren have any rights to Oscar Piastri. After being forced to sit out of the race this year, Piastri obviously doesn't want to sit out another year on the sideline, so the young Aussie might have decided it was best to look out for himself instead of showing that loyalty to Alpine that we've been alluding to. It had been rumored that Alpine might re-sign Alonso and loan Piastri to Williams for the 2023 season. However, the move away from a race seat at Alpine opens the door for McLaren to bring Piastri into his F1 program. And this can make one wonder about the three IndyCar drivers looking for Formula One opportunities with McLaren. Starting with Pato O'Ward, he got to test the McLaren F1 car last year. He's an IndyCar star with Aero McLaren SP, and he's made himself perfectly clear that he eventually wants to race in F1. Then you have the young American Colton Herta. His F1 prospects really rest on Michael Andretti, been allowed to join the F1 grid. We haven't heard anything lately on a final decision there. If Andretti's entry is blocked, any F1 opportunities for Colton Herta would have to come through McLaren, or racing in Formula One is probably not going to happen. Still, they got to test the McLaren F1 car at Portimao, Portugal last month. And speaking of American drivers, Formula 2 frontrunner Logan Sargent will get to compete in free practice one for Williams at Circuit of the Americas later this year during the U.S. Grand Prix race weekend, graphic courtesy of Williams. And then you have last year's IndyCar champion, Alex Palou. Out of all the drama surrounding him, Ganassi and McLaren, his legal team said one thing GRIDnet reported on last week that really stood out to us. They accused Ganassi of blocking Palou from having an opportunity to compete in Formula One. For the record, we don't know what McLaren Racing CEO Zach Brown has ultimately promised Palou and the other drivers. Right now, you have Award, Herta, Palou, and now Piastri. Four is a crowd. I guess you can say five if you want to include Daniel Ricciardo and his uncertain future with McLaren. Zach Brown certainly has a lot of drivers right now. So, Josh, could somebody end up getting burned by McLaren and ultimately hurt their racing career?
Indeed, I hear there's 5 silver tickets that is going to be put into special oranges of Terry's chocolate orange, and the 5 lucky drivers who find them win a ticket to go to the McLaren Technology Centre, and then whoever makes it to the end of the tour wins the second seat as well. Because to be fair, I think Zach as well, and all that lot is just turning into a bit of Willy Wonka, isn't it? In fact, And that's something I'm going to work on that analogy more and bring that back into the commentary when we get into the Spa race as well, because it is a bit like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It really is, because Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, to give it a proper book title. But it's ridiculous because we've got 7 drivers lined up. All of them are not lined up for IndyCar seats or Formula E seats. They're all lined up directly for the F1 seats. So I can honestly see Ricciardo being the worst hurt, which is unfair to him. I can already see the fact that long term in their careers, Palou's reputation in IndyCar is now shot. It's gone because he's shown disloyalty to a team, and he's shown he's willing to just drop the team at the drop of a hat. A team that he's won a championship with can go like that. So he's shown that he's not trustworthy, and he doesn't show loyalty to the team. The same can be really said for Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri, everyone's been moaning about him all year, saying he should have a seat in Formula 1. He should have a seat. They've been going, why is Latifi racing? Why is Alonso racing as well? And we've seen some great races from both of them as well. Nicholas Latifi was finally the top of practice session as well. And he was really good in Hungary as well. Then he had a problem in qualifying and it did let him down, but he was good in the race. But now, Oscar Piastri finally gets a shot at Formula 1 and he turns it down. I don't understand it. The only thing I can take from that little press release that we showed earlier on as well, guys, was the fact that he said, I will not be racing for Alpine in 2023. Here it is now, look. There is the bottom line. I will not be driving for Alpine next year. That, to me, tells me that he knows exactly where he's driving next year. He's got exactly the right information. So whatever is this deal with McLaren in their second F1 seat, their 2 seats in Formula E, and their 3 seats as well in IndyCar, we know exactly where they're going to be. We know that one of the seats in Formula 1 is taken by Lando Norris. We know one of the seats in McLaren F1, in McLaren IndyCar, is taken by Alexander Rossi, who, by the way, Alexander Rossi has been given a 20 points penalty fine, both in the drivers and the team's championship, for running the water bottle as part of the ballast last time out in Indianapolis as well, to make the car heavier. You're not allowed to do that, so he's been issued a fine, but he's still the race winner from that event. So we only know 2 drivers. That's another 2, 4, 6 seats we don't know about, and there's 7 drivers left. So someone's going to get hurt and someone is going to get the chop eventually. And I think it'll be Ricciardo.
Yeah, it certainly seems like Daniel Ricciardo is going to be the odd man out here, and I'm interested to see what's going to happen with the Alex Palou situation, especially when his lawyer put out a statement saying they were accusing Ganassi of blocking Palou's opportunity to compete in Formula 1. And I know in the McLaren press release, they said Palou would be able to join their test driver lineup and test the same McLaren F1 car that Colton Herta tested at Portimao last month. And I'm not sure if you can actually say that being able to test a Formula 1 car is the same as competing in Formula 1 cars. So I find it really interesting how that statement was worded. But right now, based on how this story is shaping up, I'm not really sure how Alex Palou would fit in McLaren F1's plans, and I'm really not sure how they fit in IndyCar either, given everything that's going on right now. I think up there with Ricciardo, who probably more than likely going to end up without a seat in Formula 1, or at least with McLaren. There could possibly be some openness for Ricciardo to remain in Formula 1 in 2023. But I think the driver who might end up hurt the most by McLaren could be Alex Palou, because for once, he's getting an ugly legal battle with Chip Ganassi Racing. And I wonder if Palou understood, the terms of what's going on here. I wonder if he was actually promised like a seat in Formula 1 or something like that, because you don't really burn bridges like this unless it's for something extremely major. And the way this is really shaping up, it really doesn't look good for Alex Palou. And like you said, Josh, his reputation in IndyCar, it's been shot. It's hurt right now. I don't know if he's gonna be able to recover from this moving forward. And I know a lot of the top teams in IndyCar, once this settles, they might be a little hesitant to take him on. It was certainly looking like it was going to be a great situation with him for like the next decade or so, with Chip Ganassi seemingly planning to make Alex Palou the next team leader once Scott Dixon retires. He would have been with a top team, a team that's won many IndyCar championships and Indy 500s, and to throw that all away. And now his only top options, if he wants to remain in IndyCar long term, would probably be Andretti Autosport or Team Penske. And we know Roger Penske doesn't take mess like that. So they might rule out Roger Penske from Alex Palou. So his only options might be with a team that's not as competitive as the one he's with now. So it's certainly quite a situation Palou is in. And we actually have an update on Palou's court battle with Ganassi, first reported by Kyle Boyd from Wish TV based in Indianapolis. Palou's legal team filed to have their case moved from the Superior Court in Marion County, Indiana, to federal court, the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Indiana. Additional court filings show that Palou's legal team intends to go after Ganassi for defamation too, along with the fight for Palou to move on to McLaren and leave his current employer. And if you want to read more about this latest update and all the specific legal details, we've provided a link to Wish TV story in the video description below. Adam, if Palou has a poor point scored weekend in Nashville, making a second championship less likely, should Ganassi just sit in for the final three races? How can anyone possibly function properly when a situation like this has gotten so ugly and toxic?
If Alex Palou has a poor race on the streets of Nashville on Sunday, I sit him for the rest of the year. This has gotten out of hand. It's gotten crazy. After everything that Alex Palou is going through it now, maybe he's had a lot of sleepless nights thinking about all the mess. And you need to, and think about his sponsor, who is a sponsor of the IndyCar series, NTT. How do you think they feel right now? They're probably not happy with all this legal mess either. So if Alex Palou has a poor showing in Nashville, I send him for the rest of the year. You need a clear head, to continue. And to me, Alex Palou doesn't have that right now.
I completely agree with Adam as well. And he brings up a good point about entity data as well. And they're the title sponsor of IndyCar, and the driver that they sponsor, the champion of the series, is dragging the name of the team and the series and their own brand through the mud. And I've got that feeling now as well, like you brought it up, Adam, as well. I've got a feeling that we could be in for yet another name change to the IndyCar series. I really do think that entity data could just sort of say, no, we're done. We put the contract, we're done. And I hope it doesn't happen, because they've actually been quite a good partner with IndyCar as well. I've enjoyed them being the partnership. They've brought a lot to the table. A lot more publicity has been coming as well. Going through as well with Palou, if I was a team principal, I would have benched him at Toronto onwards. Well, as soon as this entire story came out, I would have benched him for the rest of the year. I would have benched him, and I would have then sacked him as well. And I would have made it very public, because now that makes Chip Ganassi look a bit weak, that they haven't got anyone else in to replace him. Nobody is irreplaceable, especially racing drivers. They're 10 a penny as well in the world of motorsport. I would have benched him, I would have got someone else in, and I would have made a statement that nobody does that to my team and nobody disrespects my car. So I'm actually surprised Chip Ganassi hasn't benched him immediately. There must be something in the contract that is stopping him doing this, or something with the lawsuit either. But interesting, they've moved it to federal court as well from Superior Court. So they are just trying to get this done as quickly as possible is all I can work on that one as well. We'll keep up to date with it, obviously, and I'll keep my eyes on it. It's going to be a lot of fun this weekend, though, because drama is rising up. Formula One may have gone off, but it's all linked together, like we were talking about. Formula E, Formula One, and IndyCar, they're all linked together with this driver train. And what's the one spider at the centre of the web? It's Zachary Brown, isn't it? Zach Brown, who's just doing everything. He's got fingers in so many pies as well. And let's see what Willy Wonka will do this time.
Yeah, we'll certainly see what Zach Brown has up his sleeve next. But Zach Brown is truly blown up the motorsports world uh, across the pond in Europe and here in America as well. It's really crazy how Zach Brown has just dropped an atomic bomb and blew everything up in IndyCar and Formula One. Zach Brown really controls the driver market right now in both series and going back to the move into federal court from the Marion County Superior Court. One of the main theories is that Palou's side really would like to have I guess, a fair chance in court, so there won't be like any potential bias towards Chip Ganassi racing in Marion County, and I think that's a fair legitimate point there. You certainly want to make sure that you're gonna get a fair hearing, and so you'll get the best chance at possibly winning. It's certainly been interesting to see which side is going to come out on top in this. And Josh, you were talking about Chip Ganassi Racing and why they haven't replaced Alex Palou. It very well could be something, the contract, that requires Palou to complete the season no matter what. And if Ganassi wanted to replace him, he has three drivers that he could call up on. You got Ryan Hunter-Reay, who signed on as a Ganassi reserve driver and test driver for the LMDH program. You have Sebastian Bourdais as well at the Cadillac DPI program right now. Has a ton of IndyCar experience, obviously, and you have Tony Kanaan as well, who's been embedded with the team. So you got three really good drivers right there who could step in and complete the season if needed. And I'm also wondering if Ganassi is keeping Palou in the seat, because in Toronto, the championship was more in reach for him, and now it's starting to slip away a little bit. And getting involved in an accident, finishing last place this weekend in Nashville, it really could make the championship look less likely for Palou. So I'm wondering, if you get to a point when the championship for Palou is not going to happen, do you just pay to sit him for those final three races? And that's the situation we'll certainly be watching. And Josh, I saw you had your hand raised. Was there an additional point you wanted to make?
Well, 3 races to go. Doesn't score any points this weekend. Bench him for the rest of the year and get those three drivers in the NTT Daily car. Three legends of IndyCar in the title running car at three absolutely fantastic tracks. Worldwide Technology Raceway. We've got Portland as well, home of this network as well. And then we've got Bang On as well for Laguna Seca. So that's just writing on the wall for brilliant advertising, and get special designs on the car as well, a bit like the Carvana for Jimmy Johnson. I think you've got something there that could both rescue Chip Ganassi and rescue the Entity Data sponsorship, and make it look like, we've told him to get lost, and look who we got in. 3 ex-champions and 3 fantastic drivers. So, if he doesn't score this weekend, bench him, get those 3 guys in.
And Josh, we thank you for your time as always. To our viewers, be sure to subscribe to Josh's YouTube channel. Compared to last weekend, he has a light schedule. This weekend as MotoGP is in Silverstone, and the NTT IndyCar Series is on the streets in Nashville. So Josh, we know it's really late over there for you in the UK. So we thank you for your time as always, and we'll see you on Saturday for the pre-show as you and Julia preview the British Grand Prix at Silverstone.
Absolutely, and because it's the British round of the championship as well, it's on free-to-air telly, so we're covering all of the MotoGP sessions, not the Moto2 and Moto3, sadly, didn't get permission for that. That has to be done in highlights, but the MotoGP sessions, FP1, 2, 3, qualifying the race, all will be live with the watch-along for this weekend only. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Dipping my toe in with that for the first time, fully live. So I'm looking forward to this weekend. And we've got Nashville. I'm loving Nashville. It's fast becoming one of my favourite IndyCar races on the calendar after last year as well. So light schedule. We're over the hill compared to what last week's misery was. So full speed to the end of the year. And have a great rest of the show, guys.
Thanks, Josh. And now to some news from a short track based here in North Carolina. Last night, on-track action finally returned to North Wilkesboro Speedway here in North Carolina. In what's expected to be an entire month of action-packed asphalt racing. On Wednesday, August 31st, one of the biggest names in stock car racing, a NASCAR Hall of Famer, and one of the key people to help bring North Wilkesboro Speedway back from the dead, will get in the driver's seat. That's right, viewers. Dale Earnhardt Jr. will race the late model for Junior Motorsports in the Cars Tour race. As you see on the screen, he'll drive his father's iconic number 3 with sponsorship from Sundrop. In 1993, Junior drove a Sundrop sponsored late model at North Wilkesboro. He said seeing the Sundrop Chevrolet at North Wilkesboro will bring back some good memories for him. And the photo you see on the screen, courtesy of Junior Motorsports. Next, here's Kobe with some news about an F1 world champion and an NFL team that's based in the Rocky Mountains.
And before we get into that, got a couple of comments from Michael Tiller saying that last year's Nashville race was great. You won't lie, and some of the problem areas with the track, Michael, they made adjustments this year, so hopefully it'll put on a much better race. And I'm sure IndyCar has really done their homework to make sure that all the things that went wrong during Nashville's first race won't be an issue this time around. And also saying take care of Josh, and Josh has gone off the bed in the UK while we continue the rest of our show. And yesterday we got some big news from the NFL relevant to racing. The Denver Broncos announced that 7-time Formula One world champion Lewis Hamilton has joined the professional football team's ownership group. And in a statement right here from the Denver Broncos, statement from Rob Walton on behalf of the Walton Penner family ownership group, we're delighted to welcome 7-time Formula One world champion Sir Lewis Hamilton to our ownership group. He is a champion competitor who knows what it takes to lead a winning team and a fierce advocate for global equality, including his own sport. With over 100 race wins, Lewis is considered the most successful Formula One driver of all time. His resilient spirit and standard of excellence will be an asset to the ownership group and the Broncos organization. Lewis Hamilton put out a statement of own, saying he decided to join an incredible group of owners and become a part of the Denver Broncos story. He's honored to work with a world-class team and serve as an example of the value of more diverse leadership across all sports. And you see his dog Roscoe right there wearing a cute little Denver Broncos outfit there. And Lewis Hamilton is not the first active professional athlete to be a part of an ownership group for a professional sports team. NBA star LeBron James is a minority owner for one of the most famous soccer teams in the in the Premier League, Liverpool FC. The NFL's Patrick Mahomes is a part of the Kansas City Royals ownership group in Major League Baseball. Also, ironically, current Denver Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson and his wife Sierra are part of the ownership group in Major League Soccer for the Seattle Sounders FC. And Russell Wilson right here congratulating Lewis Hamilton for joining the ownership group and saying winning is a habit. Hashtag let's ride. And between Lewis Hamilton and Russell Wilson, nobody knows how to win more than those two. So Adam, how much does the new ownership role add to Hamilton's overall legacy?
Oh, this is huge, Kobe. You think about the history of Lewis Hamilton. Everything he's done in F1. He's joined an NFL team that has produced superstars like John Elway, Terrell Davis, Shannon Sharp, and Peyton Manning. This, maybe we'll get some NFL fans who aren't motorsports fans but get attracted to F1. We know the popularity of F1 here in the USA thanks to the Netflix Drive to Survive series, but maybe there's some NFL fans who will see this and say, hey, after everything Lewis Hamilton has accomplished, maybe they'll get on board for F1. This is huge news, so really happy to see Lewis Hamilton being a part of this ownership group with a team like the Denver Broncos.
Yes, it's a real big deal for Lewis Hamilton getting a part of this ownership group with the Broncos, and it just shows you, Lewis has so many irons in the fire, and he's accomplished so much, and it's going to be interesting to see if Lewis is going to have any input on what goes on in the front office. And right now, since he's one of the minority owners with the Denver Broncos, I don't expect him to have too much input, but who knows what could happen as time goes on. When ownership groups come and go, he might decide he wants to buy a bigger share and into the Broncos, and that's what happened with Michael Jordan, the current co-owner of 2311 Racing with Denny Hamlin, and now the sole owner of the Charlotte Hornets. Back when they were the Charlotte Bobcats, Michael Jordan was a minority owner at first, and then he later bought the entire team and became the majority owner after they were the Charlotte Bobcats. Then they went back to their old classic name, the Charlotte Hornets. So this is a really exciting time for Lewis Hamilton to get aligned with the National Football League and the Denver Broncos. And like you were saying, Adam, maybe this could cause some of the NFL fans who don't really know much about racing or even care about racing to start to pay attention to all of this. I know I have a friend who's a big Denver Broncos fan, and she's like, Lewis Hamilton's joining the ownership group. Like, she doesn't really know who Lewis Hamilton. I mean, she knows who Lewis Hamilton is, but she doesn't know much about them. So hopefully, this will, Lewis's presence will bring more people over to the wonderful world of racing, so they can see what they've been missing for all of these years. And next, some major news in the world of sports car racing. After working together for over a decade, Team WRT and Audi will end their partnership at the end of the 2022 season. As a result, Team WRT will switch to BMW instead, running the BMW M Hybrid V8 LMDH program beginning in the 2024 FIA World Endurance Championship season. In 2023, BMW will solely focus their factory prototype racing program in IMSA with Team RLL before adding WC to the equation the following year with WRT. Originally, many believed WRT would run Audi's proposed LMDH program until it got put on the back burner while Audi explored options to race in Formula One. But WRT, they wanted to compete for overall wins in the immediate future, but Audi couldn't promise him that, so leaving for a manufacturer with a program now was a no-brainer decision. And the photo you see on the screen, courtesy of Team WRT. Next, here's Matt White with his weekly grid history update.
Right here, it's that time of the show where we wrap around the world of motorsport from the weekend and bring you up to speed with any results that you may have featured. The only section of this week's show not to feature any contract negotiation chat. More of that to come, I'm sure, throughout the weeks and months ahead. Let's start with Formula One, and we'll start at Budapest for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Max Verstappen getting another win. Happy to the holiday he will go with a big championship lead for Red Bull. Big support action. F2 were there. Jack Doohan and Teo Pourchaire getting a win each. In Formula 3, Kyle Collette and Alex Smollett winning a race apiece. And in the W Series, Jamie Chadwick was beaten. Yes, shock horror, it did happen. Alice Powell getting the victory on Saturday. Obviously her first of the year, the only person to beat Jamie Chadwick for the last almost calendar year. NASCAR were at Indianapolis, and the absolute clown show of the end of that race was won by Tyler Reddick. AJ Allmendinger won the Xfinity race on Saturday, which was just after IndyCar were on track. Alex Rossi getting his first win for almost 3 years for Andretti Autosport. Truck Series action as well over the weekend. They were up at IRP at 10 miles up the road, the first race of the truck playoff. Grant Enfinger booking himself a win and getting himself into the next round. The British touring cars were back in action at the weekend after their Tour de France TV-enforced summer break. They were up at Knockhill in Scotland. Jake Hill, Ash Sutton getting a win apiece, and George Gamble, congratulations to George, getting his first British Touring Car Championship win. South of the border in London at Excel, Formula E double header again for them, and another win on home soil for Jake Dennis. That's 2 in 2 years for him. Lucas Di Grassi beat him though in the Sunday race, getting his first win of the season. World Superbikes, they were in the Czech Republic at Most. Alvaro Bautista getting a win on Saturday, and Toprak Razgatlioglu getting a win in the Superpole race and the main race on Sunday. Those two bringing themselves back into championship contention. Down under in Australia at the Bend, 3 tremendous supercar races over the weekend. Won all of them by Shane Van Gisbergen, and Holden have already wrapped up the Manufacturers' Championship, the last time they will ever win the Manufacturers' Championship, and it's come at the end of July. Porsche Carrera Cup Australia were also in action, and another Clean sweep of the weekend in that category. Aaron Love getting all of the wins there. Aussie racing cars were there. Josh Anderson getting a win. Ryan Reynolds, no, not that one. And Cody Garland getting 2 victories across the weekend. And in Utes, David Seeters got 1 win, 2 wins for the returning Adam Marjoram. And Aaron Borg came through in the wet conditions on Sunday afternoon to take the win there. One big race we haven't yet spoken about, and it involves the Grid Endurance Performance Index, one of the biggest races of the year, the Spa 24 Hours, won for the first time by Mercedes. Raffaele Marciello, Jules Gounon and Danny Juncadella, the winners. And that puts Marciello even further out in front now in the Grid EPI, ahead of Jules Gounon. His teammate winning that race is now bumped up to second. We'll look at the top standings in a moment. In the Pro-Am category, Louis Machiels was the winner for Ferrari alongside Alessio Rivera, Andrea Bertolini and Stefano Constantini. A massive story in the gold category, another Ferrari win. Rahal Frey, Sarah Bovey, Michelle Gassing and Dorian Pin getting the win for Iron Dames. You'll hear all about that later on in the week in our Women in Motorsport show. A massive achievement and congratulations to that whole squad. Huge, huge, huge news. In the Silver Cup, Thomas Neubauer, Benjamin Goethe and JB Sivenour won for Audi. And there was a win for George Kurtz, Valentin Pierberg, Tim Muller and Rima Jafali in the new Bronze Cup for Mercedes. So let's have a quick look at the top of the EPI after a couple of down weeks considering we had just a few sort of regional races. The big one, the Spa 24 Hours this weekend. Raffaele Marciello now still in the lead. He's on to 315.3 points at the top of the standings, ahead of his teammate for the weekend, Jules Gounon, who jumped Dries Van Voor, who was behind him in third place. Van Voor and Weerts not scoring at all this weekend after their retirement after the crash early on Sunday morning. So they're third and fourth. Oliver Jarvis, Timo Bogasnowski, Philippe Albuquerque, Ben Barnicoat, Ricky Taylor, all not in action at Spa, so they keep their places in the top 10. Earl Bamber pops himself back up into 10th position, ahead of Mara Engel, who's in 11th. He's the highest non-winner of the season so far, yet to win a race. Another busy weekend to come, and don't forget to check out, we'll bring you all the results from this weekend's race, of course, on next week's show. And don't forget every day to check out grid_history on Twitter, where we go back into the archive and into the Grid video vault to bring you a race on this day in history. And every single day we will do that for you. The countdown is on towards the end of the season into August now. Championships will begin to be decided over the next couple of months. We'll bring you all of the championship winners and the race results here in the weekend wrap-up on Grid Tonight.
Thanks, Matt. And got a comment here from Michael Taylor saying it's a huge thing for Sir Lewis to get an ownership role in the NFL's Denver Broncos. Yes, it's a real big deal for Lewis to join the Denver Broncos ownership, especially since the NFL is trying to become more diverse up at the very top, to have more black owners in the league and try to get more representation all throughout. Now, some additional Formula One silly season news, but more on the tamer side. Williams re-signed Alex Albon to a multi-year contract extension with the team, keeping him with the organization for 2023 and beyond. After losing his seat at Red Bull at the end of 2020, Albon's future in F1 was uncertain after struggling as Max Verstappen's teammate. Red Bull placed him in DTM last year before Williams gave him an opportunity to return to Formula One. Albon's been excelling in his second chance, outperforming his teammate Nicholas Latifi on a regular basis and getting as much as he can out of the car. And the nice graphic you see there on the screen, courtesy of Williams. And in Alex Albon's statement right here that he released after it, he decided to have a little fun, poking some fun at Alpine and Oscar Piastri, especially Oscar Piastri's statement, saying that I understand that with my agreement, Williams Racing have put out a press release this afternoon that I am driving for them next year. That is right, and I have signed a contract with Williams for 2023. I will be driving for Williams next year. So Alex Albon showing his sense of humor right there. Did people write off Albon too soon, and do you believe he's deserving of this contract extension?
Kobe, Alex Albon did deserve this contract extension with Williams. He's a great talent for them. Like you said, he's outperformed his teammate Nicholas Latifi this year. Eventually, could he win F1 races? I do believe so. And did people write off Albon too soon? Yes, he's a great talent in F1. What he's doing at Williams is incredible right now. So, you want a future star in F1? Alex Albon. And we have a comment from SHT saying Alpine has basically sold their future with one bad decision. Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. One bad decision, one bad costly decision, and we're certainly gonna be following that situation as it continues to develop. And got another comment from Michael Tiller saying that Albon's a talented driver. He shouldn't be shunned like that. You're glad that he extended that contract, and when you look at his finishes, I guess when you compare Albon and Latifi's finishes. Albon is, is really blowing out Latifi in terms of performance and all of that, and he's doing as much as he can with the Williams. I know he's not in the points every single week or like that. Doesn't really have the points to show what he's been able to do with that car this year, but he's still been able to do a lot and showed us that maybe just maybe we all, well, not all of us, but we might have written him off as a Formula One buzz way too soon. Sometimes drivers need several years to really show their true form. But we know in the world of Formula One, especially in F1, you're not going to get the opportunity. It's a perform now or you're going to be out of the series, and that's really what it is in motorsports in general. But for Formula One, it really applies to that series more than any other others. And SHC said you think Albon did well this year in the Williams, he can finish often in P12 or P13 positions, and he said he certainly deserves the contract extension for sure. Totally agree with you. And next we have an update on Kurt Busch's condition. He released this statement saying he's continuing to make improvements with his concussion-like symptoms, but he still hasn't been cleared yet to return and race. So he'll miss this weekend's NASCAR Cup Series event at Michigan International Speedway for a third consecutive race. Xfinity regular Ty Gibbs will replace Busch at 2311 Racing in a number 45 Toyota. Busch hopes he'll be ready to go at Richmond. However, Denny Hamlin made an interesting comment this week on the Door Bumper Clear podcast. He said the team planned to have Truck Series regular John Hunter Nemechek be the reserve driver this year, but Nemechek got skipped over completely for Gibbs instead. Is it concerning that Kurt Busch still hasn't been cleared to return yet? And what does it say about 2311 Racing choosing Ty Gibbs over John Hunter Nemechek?
Colby, it's concerning. You mentioned concussion-like symptoms. Could Kurt Busch, could he have suffered a concussion in that wreck at Pocono? We don't know. But concussion-like symptoms, that's, that's saying something, but in having Ty Gibbs over John Hunter Nemechek, Kurt Busch is getting up there in age, so we know that Tyler Reddick, signed with 2311 Racing. So could Kurt Busch retire at the end of the year? Who knows? This is, but it's nice to see Ty Gibbs getting, some seat time in this next gen car, and he has been successful, so far. So Michigan International Speedway is at 2 Mile Oval, and you can it'll give him really happy for Ty Gibbs, but hopefully we'll see Kurt Busch back at Richmond.
And before I respond to you, I have another comment from Michael Taylor said that you would like to see Williams do better, though I'd like to see them succeed. And Sir Frank's memory. Yeah, for sure. We certainly want them to succeed in the memory of Sir Frank Williams. And responding to what you were just talking about, Adam, yes, it's concerning that Kurt Busch still hasn't been cleared by his doctors to return to racing yet. But at the same time, I also think it could be a good thing. It shows us that Kurt Busch is taking himself very seriously, and he wants to make sure that he's 100% before he returns to his number 45 Toyota Camry TRD in the NASCAR Cup Series, because in the past a lot of drivers didn't really take their injuries seriously, and then you saw all the fallout that happened after the fact. And the best expert to ask about concussions was Dale Earnhardt Jr. obviously, and even he admitted, he didn't really take a lot of his concussions seriously, until it just got to a point, when enough was enough, and he had to, see a specialist, a concussion specialist, and really listen to all of their advice. And even in the NBC booth during the race, they asked him what he thought about the situation, like what Kurt Busch was going through, and all of that. And Dale Jr. said that the first thing, just listen to the doctor, don't listen to anybody else, because the doctor usually knows best. And it's really nice to see that Kurt Busch is putting his health first and racing last, because at the end of the day, you're only a race car driver for a certain amount of time. And after Kurt decides to retire from racing, we certainly want him to be able to live a long and healthy life after he's hung up the helmet for good. And Adam, you talked about potential retirement from Kurt Busch. It seems like that could be around the corner. Don't know the if his concussion-like symptoms he's been experiencing is going to push it up to possibly the end of this season or next season, especially with Tyler Reddick coming on board in 2024. So that's a situation we'll also be following here at Grid Network. And in terms of 2311 Racing choosing Ty Gibbs over John Hunter Nemechek, I'm honestly not surprised, because Ty Gibbs is a once in a generation talent. But that's not a knock on John Hunter Nemechek, who I think is a really solid race car driver. But Ty Gibbs, is younger, has a lot more upside, and someone who could really be a NASCAR star for many years to come. Will probably end up winning a whole bunch of Cup races and probably winning several championships as well. So if you want somebody with a bunch of upside, who could be in the Cup Series as soon as next year or the year after that, full time at the very latest, why not give him the experience now so he can get some Cup races under his belt? But if you're John Hunter Nemechek, you certainly will probably be feeling bitter about this, because at the beginning of the year, you're thinking, if something happens to Bubba Wallace or Kurt Busch, I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to get that opportunity to run some Cup races with a really solid program, and show them what I can do, that I deserve to get back in the NASCAR Cup Series full time and a quality ride. And then you see Ty Gibbs, getting 3 Cup races while John Hunter Nemechek is not in the car. I'm sure that's a real tough pill for him to swallow. But at the end of the day, Nemechek still has a lot to play for. He's going to be trying to win that NASCAR Camping World Truck Series championship this year, the one that got away last year when he had all those issues at the season finale at Phoenix.
And speaking of the NASCAR Cup Series at Michigan International Speedway this weekend, NASCAR Xfinity Series regular Austin Hill will make his Cup Series debut on Sunday at Michigan International Speedway. He'll drive a third entry from Richard Childress Racing, the number 33 Bennett Transportation in Logistics Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. He'll also have Alsco Uniforms, United Rentals, Global Industrial, and Realtree Outdoors on board for his debut. Team owner Richard Childress said Hill has shown talent in every series he's competed in, praised his strong rookie season in Xfinity, and he's excited to see what Hill can do in a Cup car. Good opportunity to begin auditioning to be Tyler Reddick's replacement in 2024. In his first full Xfinity season, Hill has 2 wins at Daytona and Atlanta, 8 top 5s and 13 top 10s. And the photo you see on the screen taken by Jared C. Tilton from Getty Images. Now it's time for everybody's favorite game here at Grid Network, Pick a Winner. Take a look at the updated leaderboard here and last weekend you got 3 easy points if you picked Shane Van Gisbergen to sweep the weekend, like a lot of us did. But tonight, Kobe and I are going to pick who we think is going to win Rally Finland from the World Rally Championship. Last year, it was Elvin Evans taking the crown. And just a few years ago, it was Ott Tanak winning here as well. So, Kobe, who wins Rally Finland on Sunday?
I'm going to go with the most dominant driver in World Rally Championship this year. I'm going to go with the Finnish driver who could get a home rally win. I think Kalle Rovanperä going to get a job done and get yet another victory and continue his dominance in World Rally Championship.
And I'm trying to catch you, Kobe. So I'm going with the driver who won here in 2018 and 2019. Yeah, I'm going Ott Tanak to win here at Rally Finland. And we'll have an update on Rally Finland on Saturday's race show and a complete wrap-up from Rally Finland on Sunday's post-race show. Another edition of GRIDnet is in the book. So, Kobe, time to wrap it up.
Yeah, that's it for tonight's episode of Grid Tonight. Please be sure to like and subscribe to Grid Network here on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Invest in Grid Network. We certainly encourage you to take 5 minutes after our show and consider joining our Patreon. Keep us on the air well into the future. Do you want to buy me a coffee? Click the link in the video description below, and you can buy a drink for your favorite on our talent here at Grid Network. Once again, big thank you to Edward Hunter from Formula Ezo, Amber and Zachary for buying us one. We greatly appreciate it. Any amount will help us continue growing our motorsports media outlet. Visit public.com, also known as the stock market social media home. The link below and referral code gives you $5 to invest immediately. Public.com allows you to connect with your friends. You can make new friends and use tools to learn how to properly invest in the stock market. And looking at our schedule for the next couple of days ahead, Thursday, check out a brand new episode of Women in Motorsports. Joe and Daniel are going to talk about the Iron Dames winning their class at the 24 Hours of Spa, a historic victory for the all-female driver lineup. And Saturday, we're going to be back on the air, Grid Live pre-race at noon Eastern. And then Sunday, Grid Live wrap-up, 90 minutes after the NASCAR Cup Series race at Michigan International Speedway. And also the IndyCar race on the streets of Nashville and the Music City will be finishing up as well. For Adam Limerice and Joshua Birch, I'm Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform, public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities, such as new companies and potential business partners, and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on public.com. Link in the video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GRIDnet for your free $5 to invest and start investing and networking on public.com.